Well, welcome everyone to another edition of the Herron Talks podcast. We are joined by a very special guest. We get asked this question a lot because we're in real estate and we deal with many buyers who are hesitant sometimes to make a move on pursuing their real estate dreams because they believe, and sometimes they're correct and a lot of times they're not, that they have some issues on their credit report that will prevent them from being able to advance and get that home for themselves or their family. And so we get asked all the time a lot of questions about credit. And so I will, in full transparency, let me tell you about this, about my journey here with advising or at least suggesting people to credit repair places. Historically, that had not always been a good thing. I would refer somebody to a quote-unquote credit repair specialist, and yeah, maybe they were able to remove something from a person's credit report, and it seemed like it was gone for maybe 48 hours and it showed back up, right? Or they promised the moon and nothing really happened, and my client ends up paying out a bunch of money and stuff. So I went away from it because I felt like a lot of the people who had gotten into the industry, I'm like, dang, they must have just moved away from, scamming, credit card scams or something like that. Now they're in the credit repair business because it felt like that's who had inundated the business. And then a few years ago, I met our guest. This is Joe Camacho. And Joe was different, mainly because Joe was referred to me by a very credible person. He was already working with a mortgage company who was like, hey, this is our guy who helps people improve their credit score. And he doesn't go try to hide stuff or dispute stuff that, that's you. That was your damage you did to it. He doesn't do any of that kind of stuff. What he does is he knows what the rules are to the game, and he makes sure that his clients understand those rules, and then they use those rules to make sure that the credit report reports the way it needs to based on the way the rules are set. And so in other words, there are inaccuracies that are on credit reports. There are things that should have been removed from a credit report based on the time frame. There are things that there's so many things that if you play by the rules and know the rules, you'll know how to deal with those things. But he's never one who's out there claiming this magic bullet that all of a sudden take you up to this ridiculously high credit score, and now you can go buy that Maserati that you're gonna give back in about 30 days. That was not him. So when I met him, I was like, okay, this dude is legit. And then I sent some people to him, and he made it work. And what I was most impressed about was the people came back to me and said, well, no, he's not, because both of these clients that I had sent had worked with someone previously, and they got scammer vibes from those folks. And they were like, hey, when I was talking to Joe was kind of just straight up. Here's the deal. Here's how you got into this position. And here's what we're going to do to kind of help you get out of this and kind of set yourself up, not to have just temporary success and be able to acquire this property because now all of a sudden your credit score is this. We got to also get your mind right and your habits set to where we don't end up back in the spot, and that you can now leverage credit to improve your life. And so when I heard that philosophy and heard it from different people that were working with him, the mortgage companies that were working with him, I was like, okay, he's legit. He's somebody that's worth giving another shot to. And he is not, he certainly is not disappointed. He's been great in helping people get their credit life together, which is also a foundational piece of their finances. And we thought it'd be great to have him on. I mean, I can't tell you how many people. Now, I'll start with this, Joe. And Joe is welcome to the show, Joe. Joe Camacho of Phenix. Is it Phenix? what's the full name of your company?
The Phenix Group.
The Phenix Group. You know, you got to put that group on it to make it sound.
Yeah.
You know, the group
Yes.
gives it that official.
Legitimizes
That's
it a
right.
little bit.
You the group, right? The Phenix Group. And so I'm gonna ask you this question, Joe, and I asked of Bonita. Bonita,
I'm
of
about to
course,
say, I'm
is-
here too. Okay. I didn't get my welcome, my intro. It's okay.
Bonita is here with us today. We're very glad for that. Marcella is here too. She's
Exactly.
producing for us today. So so the whole crew is here. Welcome to the Herron Talks podcast. Please like, subscribe, do all those things. Thank you for being here, Bonita. We're happy about that. I am going to ask a question of you and Joe, and Marcella, you can chime in too. If a person says to you, you ask them, hey, how is your credit? And if they respond to you by saying, well, I'm not really sure. I think I might have a few things on my credit. If they say the word credit, they put a K on credit. Here is what is 100% for sure. They have bad credit. There's no doubt. That's never failed. If you say credit, your credit is.
Well, they're like really country.
I mean, I've not done a sample size to say this person's country and all that stuff. I do know that everybody who is referred to credit as credit that I have encountered, their credit was terrible. Joe, has that been?
Oh my gosh.
Am I putting you in a bad spot by asking that?
One, I appreciate the intro. That's a lot to live up to. I think there's definitely a lack of education.
Joe, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. My question was simply, if they say credit.
Yes, it's fair to say they have bad credit,
Okay.
or credits. It's pluralized. If it's experience, I gotta look at my experience report, or my Expedia report, and I'm like, sweetie,
Expedia.
we ain't booking a trip. we were trying to look at some scores,
Right.
So
That's a telltale right there, right?
That's-
you got some work to do.
that lets me know that
Yeah.
we're not
So
familiar with the
horrible.
bureaus, and it's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
And it's okay. And by the way, if you say credit, that's okay. That's no. I'm not saying if we're here to help, right? One of the things with Herron Talks, we're trying to encourage. I don't know, maybe that doesn't sound too encouraging, right? But we're here to encourage, entertain, and educate, right? And so we want to do a little bit of all that. And so if you say credit, that's okay. This is an educational piece right now. It is not credit. It's credit. Right?
Facts.
And just like it is not the grocery store, Kroger, singular, not Kroger's. If you say Kroger's.
But maybe they're saying like,
What is it saying?
I'm always
What-
the person that gives the benefit of the doubt.
okay, what are they saying?
Maybe because maybe Kroger is the family name, so it's Kroger's. Not plural, but possessive.
I need to go buy something at Kroger's.
Anyway. Okay, grammar police.
No, I'm just saying. We're just in that. Well, all right, since we own this too. Listen.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. There is no such word as conversate. That word does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And often we hear someone say conversate when they're trying to sound sophisticated. Yeah, we were just conversating. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody did that, and that you were if you were the third party, you were the other, you with them, but they talking to somebody and they're trying to impress. Yeah, we were just over there conversating.
And I don't correct them.
Well, no, I don't correct them there. I will correct them when we leave from there and say, dude, by the way, full disclosure, I have a really good friend, my boy Paul Harlan. That's my guy. Paul used to have this habit of feeling pressure to use words that he would normally use to try to be impressive. If he felt the moment called for him to seem more articulate and that kind of thing, he will use words that he didn't need to use. Conversate was one of his words. So that was that, instead of, talking to somebody, we conversated. And I can't tell you how often he would do something like that in public, and I'd kind of just shoot him a look to kind of let him know. You'd have to look at him and say, hey, give them that look, kind of mental telepathy, almost like, dog, please stop. You're doing too much.
You sure that's just not a Southern thing?
I think so.
I think that's what I mean.
And that's why I'm like, even with now, obviously they're definitely mispronouncing credit with credit.
Yeah,
but
I
think that's like country though. But I think a Southern, like conversating, and there's even the Krogers, or there are some people say you're not supposed to say I made groceries.
Yeah, that's New Orleans. That's a Louisiana thing.
We
they make
Mississippi
groceries.
too. Yeah, we gonna make groceries.
Make groceries. Okay. Well, maybe that's
never heard.
You never heard that? Yeah, I'm gonna go make groceries.
Yeah, that is a colloquialism.
I guess it's maybe Louisiana, Mississippi. Then I don't know. Y'all don't say that here. Oh.
I think they may say that in Houston. I've heard when we were at Houston Beaumont. I guess because of its proximity. But in college, there was a person I know who used to say we were gonna go make groceries. Yeah.
Get the buggy.
I've never heard get the buggy. I've heard we're going to make groceries.
I've heard that.
Okay, you've heard that?
Yeah.
Now,
the shopping cart?
Yeah.
They get the buggy. Yeah, I've heard that.
Well, I mean, that was a
Never
phrase
used
to
in
go
my
shopping, or they were saying
no,
go
the
get
buggy is
at the shop go.
Is a shopping cart, whatever y'all call it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, buggy. No, buggy is. Yeah, we've heard people say that.
Look at this.
Yeah, my bad.
He's popular.
Sorry about that. I caught myself putting it on.
Silent.
On silent. Yeah. Sorry about that. See, that's what happens when you start. I started the wrong way by talking about it. Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah. So anyway, but I'm sure somebody write down and say, I might say credit, but I know how to turn my phone off when I'm
live on the air.
I'm live on, when I'm recording something. At least my phone is off. Yeah, that's true. But Joe, welcome to the program, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we want to get to know a little bit about you first, so people will feel comfortable when they do engage you about improving their credit. We kind of want to know where did Joe come from. So Joe is not a Texan, as you may have heard. He's not an original Texan. He's a Texan now, but he is from Los Angeles. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
Born and raised. 16 years. I'll say 16 years because I did move here in 96.
96, okay. Yeah. And you moved here to Fort Worth, right? That's where your dad was?
That's correct. Yeah, North Richland Hills.
North Richland Hills.
So he was living with my uncle, so I went to go stay with my aunt and my uncle. It was my sophomore year in high school.
Gotcha.
How was that transition?
Oh, I hated it. God, I hated it. I had, what's funny is that in Los Angeles, I had like one of my grade school crushes the girl that I absolutely loved.
Grade school crush.
Grade school crush. Oh yeah. She ended up going to my high school.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, it's destiny, and all that. And then, when I found out she transferred, I think it was probably about 4 or 5 months later is when I got shipped out here. I got shipped out here. Yeah, that's what it felt like. I had about 30 minutes to pack a box.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So what? Yeah, talk about this. Yeah, how did you get shipped? It sounded like you were you running from somebody. What'd you do?
You got deployed.
Well, I was being a knucklehead, being dumb, being a teenager, and my mom just wasn't having it no more, and said, you're gone.
Living with your auntie and uncle. Well, not in Bel Air.
Well, yeah, in Watauga. So she said, here's your box. Put what you want to take with you. You're only allowed to carry 2 things. So I said, okay. And I actually shared this with my kids the other day. I have an old baseball tin. It's a old Upper Deck tin, and it had all my most valuable cards. And I said, I'm not leaving this behind. I left a ton of memorabilia and stuff behind. But that was that tin. I was like, okay.
That was one of your things.
We won't have 2 pairs of pants, but we're going to have this.
You're going to have the tin. You got your baseball cards.
Yeah, which I still have to
That's
this
good.
day. Yeah, so.
Okay, but she just had enough. And I guess this was.
Pretty much.
And so she says, go get yourself and now clothes. You only so.
So, yeah, I only had like a few pairs of pants and just a couple of shirts, a sweatshirt, and whatever I had, like whatever I could fit in that box.
Okay. And
so,
then you out.
And a bag.
Now, did you have any siblings?
Yeah, my sister, My sister Kim, she lives here in Texas now. She moved here probably about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
She was, living the life over there in Los Angeles, and then I told her, I was like, you're not going to get far there. People we don't own out there. You can't move forward. It's so it's so ridiculously expensive there.
Sure.
So it's like let's just come live with me on I'll pay the bills. You get out of pay your debt off and do what you need to do, and doing the big brother thing.
Right.
But when I did leave at that time, when I came to Texas, it was my baby brother Anthony, and then my sister Kim.
So you're the oldest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came on. So you said it was 96. I was like, what did he do that he had to get out of there? I'm thinking more 94. And we know it went down to 94. I thought maybe you were hanging out with the juice or something and got involved, did a little something, a little something that the juice God might have accused of. But no, that wasn't you. So 96 you come, you're in Fort Worth. The juice, and rest his soul. He he left here not, he was supposed to be on the prowl looking for the perpetrators, right? He was doing the, I don't mean to laugh at that, right? So it's a terrible crime. But I think what I'm really laughing at is the fact that OJ allowed, there are people that, did y'all believe OJ was innocent of that crime? Was OJ?
I don't know.
Are you being politically correct and just not trying to?
I really don't know. I've obviously watched the actual interviews. I mean, the court cases and stuff, but I don't know.
I remember where I was when they read the verdict.
Okay.
You were in LA, weren't you?
Yeah. And then what people don't talk about is the handyman that worked for Nicole Simpson.
Okay.
Who was eventually picked up for murdering 4 other blondes. He was like a serial killer.
I haven't heard this angle.
Yeah, apparently there's a documentary that the brother even.
No, I've heard.
And the brother came out and said that he had admitted that he had killed Nicole Simpson.
The brother of the handyman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, but wasn't there something about OJ's son?
Well, yeah, the OJ's son.
Son.
Yeah, they claim that he could have done. But okay, so back to this theory of the. So it sounds like you kind of believe that. Do you think that's kind of how they went down?
I don't know. I didn't follow the case. I mean, I'm not an OJ fan.
Were you an OJ fan when he was on top?
He didn't know OJ. OJ was long gone out of the league. By then, so Joe's too young to know OJ, because I'm too young to really know OJ in his football era. But I remember when he was doing the telecast and stuff. He was sports commentary. I remember he used to talk with his shoulders. When he would talk, he'd always move his shoulders, almost like his head was too heavy for his body. And I remember thinking he had a really large head.
He had a big head.
He had a big head, and usually the bigger the head, you usually have an extra chromosome or something that might make you more violent.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'm just
getting this.
I'm just saying that's so. If you look at any old footage of OJ when he's talking at length, he's moving like that. Head is a little unstable, and you see the size of the head. Put all that together. See him put on that glove.
So you think he did it, basically?
OJ did it, right? So, but that's my belief. But it is what it is. He was found not guilty. So, according to court of law, he was not guilty. But I believe OJ did it, and OJ could fit those gloves too. By the way, that was
it's a bit dramatic.
Well, it was the best acting he probably ever did, right? And and it was so. The prosecution was weak on that. I'm like, dude, all you have to do is go up there and tell OJ quit playing and pull those gloves, pull the gloves down, man. The gloves were all the way up here, and then they had so much extra room to just pull it down. But OJ knew how to, pull on it like it was just, it couldn't fit. But long story short, yeah, I believe OJ did it. But you weren't involved in that, thank God. And so we moved to Texas for other reasons, right? It was not because of that. And so you move in with your dad, and you go to what high school were you going to?
I actually went to Fossil Ridge out in Fort Worth. It was actually a brand new high school. They broke off of Keller.
Okay, gotcha.
Keller High. So I was out in that area, like 820, 35.
Sure.
That little alliance, I guess what they call now, alliance over there. Yeah, it's definitely not what it used to be.
Right.
Yeah, because I used to go hunting behind our high school with my friends, my best friends, and all that. So that's when I was introduced to, like, you know, it's okay here in Texas.
The Texas life.
Yeah, like we got 12 gauge shotguns and AKs, and I'm like, okay, we go hunt some dove. Sweet. That's what it was. You know, that was kind of our thing. It took a little bit to get it used to. Yeah, I always felt when the way I described it back then, it was like, I felt like Texas was like 2 steps backwards. It's a very, very much slower pace. Than it was in Los Angeles. But then I also realized that a lot of people here are very polite and very laid back, and it's not a very cutthroat environment. That's kind of how I felt what it was over there. So I slowly began to have friends and to be able to kind of adapt, and then I started realizing, wow, I'm getting further ahead. I went to go visit my sister when she graduated from high school, and I talked to a lot of my friends who I grew up with, and they were still living at home and still, trying to make it, struggling financially and really not. I mean, some were in college and some were still going to school, but I already had my own place. I already had a great full-time job. I had a lot of things going, and I even invited some of my friends, come live with me and sleep on my couch, man. We'll set you up, we'll get you a job. It's a rat race. You're never going to get ahead. And that's kind of when I made the decision. I'm like, yeah, I ain't never going back.
Gotcha. So you really began to appreciate Texas.
Oh, absolutely.
The opportunities in Texas. And so what were you doing? What was your job? What were you doing for a living?
I actually, during that time, was working as a wholesaler for air conditioning for like a warehouse, like for all the parts and supplies.
Okay.
So it's where, you have all the contractors come in and you take their orders, 10 key real quick, and I'll be in there smoking my Marlboro Red, drinking my coffee.
This is straight out of high school, right?
Yeah, this is like 20. I was like 20-something years old, acting like a 52-year-old man.
Yeah, sounds like it. A 52-year-old man in the 1970s, too, right?
Like drinking like a 32-ounce cup of coffee with a Marlboro Red 100 at that. So yeah, I was taking the orders and stuff, and I did really well. I mean, I like numbers, and I was just helping out. I got to go out on the field, and I knew my stuff, and they wanted to give me a store and take over and do all that stuff. I was working in Arlington for a little bit, and they wanted me to have my own store, and I was just like, this ain't my life. I'm just not. I don't feel like it's what I want to do. And then eventually, I left. I stayed in Fort Worth for a little bit and just needed a change. After that, I moved to Euless, stayed there for a little bit to get kind of regroup, and then I moved to Grapevine, stayed in Grapevine for about 7 years, and then I moved to Plano, and then I had to be closer to work. And then I lived in Plano for about almost 8 years, and then now I'm in Garland. So I'm come from the west all the way to the east.
Right,
now,
yeah.
So.
You moved all the way over.
Yeah. Well, how'd you get from wholesaling to where you are now,
to Credit? So I actually left. I was working a sales position and in Grapevine, and I wanted to make more money. That's just really what it came down to. I wanted more income. I left a very cushy job. I was capped, and I ended up getting into like finance and settlement. And one day I got laid off, and I was going to go across the street. I was working in Dallas and going across the street to Sherlock's, and I was going to have a drink at 10 o'clock in the morning and, kind of drown my sorrows a little bit. And I said, you know what? I'm not wired like that, where I need to have work. I need to be working. I don't need to be wasting money. So I made 2 phone calls, and, in the parking lot, and this was in 06, 07. And one of them was my friend Rachel at the time, and her husband had just opened a mortgage company, and thank God I didn't get into the mortgage in 07.
Oh yeah. Right.
And so I know he was doing really successful. He was a broker. And then I called my friend Sarah, and I had worked with her and her husband before, and they're just really, really good people. And they said, we're going to, she's like, I'm doing credit restoration. I'm doing credit repair. And I said, how do you like it? She's like, I love it. We're helping so many people. And I'm like, and that's what I genuinely love doing is I love helping people. I'm a people pleaser. It's my gift and my curse. That's what it is. So, I said, well, what do you think? And, are you guys hiring? She's like, oh, don't worry. I got you. So I kind of went in, and there was a kind of a formality, they were like, you're already hired. We just can't hire you right now. We just need to hang out for like a month. So that summer I just kind of hung out, and I had a job waiting, and that's all she wrote.
And so while you were hanging out, were you kind of just watching them, shadowing them, kind of learning the business? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was laying by the pool getting a tan.
Oh, okay. So you just not, you had to wait.
He was literally hanging out.
Yeah. So I was getting a severance package from the last job.
Okay.
And luckily they were kind of like overpaying me a little bit, so thanks for that. So that worked out really well. And so, I hit the ground running, and, it obviously having to work through the recession and credit restoration is probably one of the toughest things I've ever had to endure. A lot of folks, the rules were definitely a lot different back then.
Sure.
And you can get away with a lot of different stuff if you knew how to manipulate the system. It's just like kind of like now, everybody's going to always find a workaround. But I wasn't about that. I was always trying to learn how to evolve and to improve. That's just kind of like the state of how do I do business. If you're not evolving, you're dying. That's how I look at business. So I started to learn a little bit more, but I was getting throttled a little bit because, ownership, here's our product, here's what we need to do, and this is how we do it. But why can't we do it this way? This way works. This is more effective. So I became friends, who is actually the president of my company right now, Natasha. I became friends with her. I knew she ran the investigative research department, and they had us segregated and everything. We weren't allowed to, interact with one another. And so I was like, I'm gonna get to know her. I'm like, you want to go to lunch? Let's go eat some tacos. And so we became friends, and I just kind of like was spitballing some ideas, and she had an idea, and we would implement some things. And next thing you know, it was working. And so that was kind of, where kind of our friendship started. And then I ended up working for another company, another firm, and helped build that company up a little bit, and became like kind of like a GM for them, and did the training, the hiring, the firing. And then Tasha gave me a quick call and was like, hey, I had stepped down from my management position, and then ended up going back to an analyst position, and that's when everybody was kind of headhunting me for a little bit. A lot of credit repair companies in Dallas were kind of already knew because they had broken off for some of the places that I had worked. Sure. And so they wanted to recruit me. And then I went over with Natasha, and I said, what do we got? And she's like, well, you have this freedom, that freedom, and plus, hey, we got attorneys now. We got a law firm. I was like, cool. So I have free range. I'm like, okay, is anybody going to bug me? No? Okay, cool. So came over, worked over there, and one day, I was talking about, like, if we were to branch off and do our own thing, I said, is that something you would, entertain? And she said, yeah. So, I eventually got the call from her, and she said, we wanted to come on board and kind of do our thing. And that's how the Phenix Group came about a little bit.
And so the Phenix Group now has been around how long?
This year will be 7 years.
Okay. Very good. 7 years. And so here's the thing, too. What I've found refreshing about you, Joe, and your company is that you all, I guess let's backtrack a little bit because, I have the utmost respect for you and the business that your firm does. But let's talk about this industry as a whole, the whole credit restoration industry. And has not always had the best reputation because of some of the practitioners and how they do business.
Oh, they're scumbags.
Okay. Well, you said it, not me. That was Joe Camacho.
Yeah. It's a very weird market. And when you said it earlier about a lot of folks that you knew, those hustlers, right? And that kind of gravitated into credit repair because a lot of these guys were sold on. That's why we call them MLM, credit repair companies. It's multi-level marketing. I show you some pay stubs, or I show you some P&L sheets, and I show you what we're making here, how we're ripping off people, and that's where people are gravitating to. They're buying in, like, hey, I'm gonna hook you up with this guy over here. We're gonna take out a loan, and then you're gonna pay me, and I'm gonna put you on the game. And this is how you. But it's not built to last. You make some quick cash and get in, you get out.
Right.
And basically that's what it is. That's why you have a lot of these. That's why the industry is so highly regulated, because we have a lot of fly-by-night companies.
Right.
They come, they set up shop, they rip off a bunch of people, and kind of like you said, you promise the moon and the stars, and then next thing you know, they're gone.
Right. Right. So then how was it, because it had to be somewhat difficult with you all being a legitimate operation, working in the context of the reputation that a lot of people have who are in this business. How were you able to kind of cut through and find clientele that said, okay, I trust you guys, let me go that route? That had to be a difficult process, because you got these other people claiming all this other stuff, and then here you all, a legitimate outfit, trying to make it happen in that environment.
It's my number one hurdle, overcoming someone's past experience or perception of what we are because of social media and all the different things that we do and everything like that. We've been very blessed and fortunate to have partners like Monument Realty and you guys to speak volumes about us and what we do. But at the very beginning, it was basically all reputation. People don't always know me for being a straight shooter. I don't bullshit. I'm a very brass tacks kind of guy. If I work very hard for my money. And so if I'm going to entrust an individual or a company or a program with my investment, I want to see a return on my investment. Sure. If you can't do the job, don't tell me you can and string me along for 8, 10, 12, a year and a half, months, where I'm thinking, I'm paying you this, monthly fee, and then, I'm in a worse position later down the line than I started, or if nothing's happened. So that's kind of why everybody's known that about me, or I've just been very transparent. So they've said, wherever you go, we just do business with you. We don't care where you hang your hat with what company. We do business with you. So it was based on a lot of reputation. There was a moment that Phenix Group didn't have a website. And that's what everybody digs. They want to research, want to Google you.
Right.
It was just it started off with that, and having great partners opened a lot of doors for us, and just staying consistent and doing right by clients. And clients, when you do right by a client, you guys are in the referral world as well too. You do right by a client, give them the best customer service, and you go above and beyond for them. They will build your business for you.
Without a doubt. So Joe, who is the client for Phenix? Who is the person that you're able to help? Who comes to you? What does that client look like?
Everybody and anybody who wants to improve their life. If you are going to, it doesn't have to be about the house. The majority of the business I do, because I do partner with some of the big names in real estate, mortgage, business finance, home builders, I work with, that's the majority of it. But there's some folks that do their research and find me organically and say, hey man, I see a lot of great stuff on the internet about you. I'm not trying to buy a house right now, but I want to set myself up for the future. If you have the initiative that you want to change your life and you want to do things right and get on the right path, then we can have a conversation. If you're looking about, I'm thinking about maybe doing something, or maybe in the next few years or something like that, go talk to somebody else.
Right. And so how does it start? So Sally knows that her credit situation is not the best, and she wants to work on that. She wants to improve that. But she wants to improve that because she wants to buy a house for her family. She wants to kind of move down the road with some things that she wants to acquire. How does she get started? She reaches out to you, and then what does that process look like?
First up, we have our initial call. I want to get to know everybody. The luxury I have in my position is I get to pick and choose who I want to work with. So I want to get to know you. I want to know about your goals. I want to know about your finances. I want to know, where are we at realistically? Sometimes kind of when we talked about like seasoning money with folks, we're like, well, I'm anticipating I'm going to get this check and, I might have 10. No. What do you have right now?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see some bank statements. Where's the money at? The house shouldn't be a reason why you're saving money. Every day's a rainy day in my world. I'm always saving.
Mm-hmm.
So how come you don't have any money? How come you have 3 jobs in the last year and a half? So that's why when people say like you put me in this box of credit repair, like it's like I do so much more.
All right.
I do so much more.
Yeah, because people don't understand necessarily. It looks like you do a great job of educating them that the credit profile, the profile of the person, the financial profile is what I should say, goes beyond just the credit score.
Absolutely.
And so people don't understand that job stability is a big thing. How much money do you actually save? How much money do you leave still available on your credit card, your available credit limits and things of that nature? Everybody simply thinks it's simply, do I pay something back? What that score says, I didn't always pay this on time, and that's what's killing my credit, when it's a lot of things.
It's the perception of who you are as a high-risk or low-risk consumer. That's all. You can be the salt of the earth, though. I mean, I love you. You're a great guy. But if I can't see that on black and white on a piece of paper, it's just like an underwriter going to break us down. It's somebody in financing going to break us down, right? If you can't make a minimum payment of $25 a month, why the hell would I entrust you with a $300,000 house?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's all about giving. It's kind of like when I start teaching my clients is when we start digging deeper into. All right, we're in the middle of our program. I'm gonna start educating you on how to leverage your credit and establishing lines of credit. It's kind of like fantasy football. You play fantasy football?
Sure, I do.
Okay. What for you ladies out there? Fantasy football is you want the best team of the best players to win the Super Bowl. So that's what you're aligning yourself with the best players, right? Mm-hmm. So when you think about it in that kind of aspect, think about the credit cards you start opening. Now, bad rating credit cards, you got Credit One Bank, First Premier, First Progress, Indigo, Bank of Missouri. They're literally called bad rating credit cards.
Okay.
When you open up a bad rating credit card, what have you told everybody?
My credit is not good.
Mm-hmm. I got bad credit. Right. Where's Chase? Where's Citi? Now, if you see that I have 2 American Expresses on my credit card and one of them has no credit limit on there, what's the perception about me?
You're pretty good. You got
great credit, right?
You're a safe risk, it appears anyway.
And I probably make good money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's just from one account reporting on my credit report. Mm-hmm. That is what the perception is. So,
and that perception actually does factor is part of the mix of that ultimate score. Is that correct?
Absolutely, because 10% of your credit score is mixture of credit. So it's you start aligning yourself with all the different accounts and all the different things, and then so now it's like, well, he's across the board. It doesn't matter who he does business with; it's always going to be a winner.
Gotcha. And so knowing that, then, so when our example person comes to you, Sally. Thank you. Remember her name. So Sally came to you, and you have that interview. You get to know her, and then I guess you pull the report. Okay.
Yeah. So I use a FICO-based credit report because at the end of the day, what everybody is like, well, I know what my credit score is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What platform? That's my first thing. And my bank tells me which bank. I got Capital One. Well, you got CreditWise. CreditWise is Vantage Score 3.0. CreditWise is equivalent to Credit Karma. They use Vantage Score 3.0. In the financial sector, nobody uses Vantage Score. There's a couple of outfits. There's a credit union outside of El Paso that does it for their auto loans, but the majority of about 99.9% of people are going to be using FICO-based credit scores. Okay. So that's the first thing I'm going to put them on. They don't have to pay money for anything. I teach them how to get a free copy of the credit report, and then that way we could do a full analysis of every single one of the bureaus. I'm looking for blemishes, red flags, everything that's hindering their credit file from giving them the best example of who they are as a low risk.
Okay.
And then so once I get all that put together, I'll start formulating a game plan. I want to be able to see that we're going to yield a high level of success for you. If I don't see it, then I'm going to take a pass on the file.
Okay. And so your definition of such. So when you say you want to see a high level of success or improvement in their situation, how do you define that?
If it's something that I can give you as far as like free advice on and empower you, if I look at a file, I'm like, I'm only going to get 20, 25 points.
Okay.
Your credit's bad. Okay. Your credits are bad.
Your credits are bad. Okay.
Because sometimes I put people on an action plan. People are looking for the path of least resistance. They don't want to put in the work. Everybody wants to shine. Nobody wants to polish. So the problem is that I put you on an action plan. Nah, I'm not looking for that. Okay. Then we're not going to work out. So if that 10, 15 points is all I foresee, then I'm going to go ahead and take a pass on it. Because I wouldn't want to hire someone to get minimal results.
Sure.
I look at anybody who spends money with me or with the program, it's an investment. So at the end of the day, if I can give you that free advice, I'll give you the free advice. I give free advice all day long. I give out at least a minimum to 20 to 30 pieces of free advice a day. I just don't put it in an email. That's my stipulation. Because when someone, like, let's say a lender refers somebody on over to me, you don't need me. Man, just do X, Y, Z, do this, and that. Do that in the next 48 hours, you're going to be back in your lender's office, pre-approved, 2.5 weeks. I'll give you that free advice. Oh, my God, we love you. Thank you. Because that's one less thing on my plate. They didn't need credit repair. They just needed good, professional, unbiased advice of what they should be doing, some direction. Right. And imagine if I can increase your credit score with 80, 100 points just with some free advice. Imagine if you put me to work.
Right.
So for the people that are truly need my help and I can foresee that level of success, like we're looking at 80 to 150 points. Some cases we go up 200 points. Then, hey, let's go ahead and move forward with the consultation. I schedule that consult. Consultations with me range about 2 to 2.5 hours at a minimum. I do free credit reports, free credit analysis, and free consultations. If you were to refer somebody over to me, I've probably already invested 3 to 4 hours within them without charging anything.
I was going to say, if your consultation by itself is 2 hours, 2.5 hours, that's a lot of. Right.
We're giving them a detailed breakdown of exactly how we're going to execute how I'm going to attack, what consumer laws I'm going to implement, leverage on their behalf, how these companies are going to respond back. I audit creditors, collection agencies, finance companies. I am the IRS to these individuals. Nobody in credit. That's what really separates me from everybody in credit repair. Everybody's disputing stuff at the bureau level. They're not going back to the root of the issue, the people who paid to put it there.
Okay.
So that I need to get you prepared. Hey, you're about to get into it. Here's what you're going to encounter. I'm going to give you every little hiccup, they're going to try to trip us up. They're going to implement stall tactics. You will never feel blindsided when you work with me.
Because you know what to expect.
Absolutely. It's chess, it's not checkers.
Gotcha.
I got to be 3-4 steps ahead to manage my clients so that way they understand, like, this is what I'm going to anticipate throughout this process. Okay, oh, my God, this is exactly what Joe said was going to happen. Instead of, I didn't feel like you explained that, in detail enough, and I felt blindsided. I've never heard that.
So, Joe, what truly can be, through your efforts, can be affected or addressed, I guess, on a credit repair, on a credit report? Because you'll hear a lot of people say, you've got a bankruptcy, you got a foreclosure, all this stuff, we can take care of all this stuff. And I'm always like, when I'm hearing that kind of stuff, I'm like, what? What? That don't make sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think with credit repair companies, they're throwing that type of, it's a clickbait, right?
Right.
There's a lot of people that want to make a lot of different moves out there, and there's a lot of things on credit that are stopping them from making those moves. I have a gentleman right now that's offering me $25,000 to guarantee him 100% deletion because his brother got 100% deletion with me. And he's a business guy. And he's got things on his credit report right now that's holding him back from making moves with some of the business partners.
Okay.
Yes. So to guarantee a specific item on a credit report is 100% illegal. You cannot do that. You cannot guarantee a specific score either. If you can guarantee a specific score, if you can have that type of talent and education and knowledge to be able to say you're going to end up with a 756L once I'm done, I don't even think if you graduate from MIT with honors,
and be able
to be able to understand the algorithms that they use. I can usually, like, I get put up against credit simulators in the mortgage industry, and I can't hit it right on the dot, but I could usually put you in probably about 1 to 3 points.
1 to 3 points. Well, that's pretty good.
If you let, right.
Sure.
So that's why I'm able to foresee, okay, what the probability of this account, maybe what the level of success. It's all something I've mentally cataloged and gone over, and like, okay, that there's some things that are just unrealistic. There's folks that come to me that literally let every account go into a charge-off status last year. They owe like over $50,000 in credit card debt, and they thinking that a credit repair company is just going to wipe their slate clean. You have a legally binding contract that they can come after you legally and file a judgment. You can get sued for the next 4 years in the state of Texas. So credit repair companies are making it seem like we're just going to wash everything away.
Right.
We're going to give you a whole new life or profile, you know.
Right.
And there's some folks that do that. They create a secondary profile. And, you know, and there was actually an article or a news broadcast that had happened where a young lady had her door kicked in literally because of the fraud that was being committed with it. They kind of like we were talking about, get it just make it just look just a little good enough to get that new car, that new whatever, those lines of credit. You know, and that was the first thing that she did. Yeah, she got approved for a Mercedes. She went and bought a Mercedes and two $60,000 lines of credit and stuff like that. And of course, you know, that they were committing fraud with that secondary profile, and yeah, they came and arrested her.
Wow. Yeah, and you know, every time I would see these different outfits pop up and doing this stuff, I'm like, this stuff is so illegal. I'm like, who's going to get mixed up in this? Because it you know, the you know, the penalties for this stuff this is not something you want to play with. But a lot of people will risk it. I mean, they'll risk it all for, you know, a shortcut on something that
absolutely
can actually be done legally.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why. So a lot of the credit sweeps, like when you hear credit sweep, that's a automatic red flag. Mm-hmm. So for all you listeners out there, that's a red flag. Anybody that's guaranteeing you 700 credit scores in 30 days, you know, all that stuff. How can you, if you're coming in from the high 400s, the low 500s, and you're guaranteeing in 30 days you're going to be in the sevens, it's impossible.
Right.
Because you already have to have established accounts with positive payment history. So what they're doing is they're going in, they're filing a false fraud affidavit. They've now beefed that process up where now they're involving the Federal Trade Commission. That fraud affidavit is no longer your 9-page document. You have to go to the FTC and file the fraud affidavit and have to accompany it with a police report. If you file a false police report, that's a felony.
Oh, sure.
So that's why all these credit suite people are going away, is because they're getting caught. Because they're just, you know, I can make something look good for about a solid 2-3 weeks. I can guarantee you 100% deletion, but it's going to fall apart on the back end.
Right.
You know.
What about even with like, what is it? Is it like the Experian Boost or something? There's something where you can like do, or like it'll give you a good score immediately or something.
Something through the bureaus where they claim they can. Yeah. They can find little inaccuracies, things
even
like that.
Even other companies too, I've heard. Like,
well, Experian Boost is you don't have any history, so you're going to put your cell phone bill, your electric bill. The problem is that some of the mortgage models that are out there. So you have a mortgage company that pulls credit, and they're looking at DTI. Your debt to income, right? The money's the paychecks are coming in from the money's coming in from the paychecks, money's going out because of bills. The problem is that when you start putting those type of bills on there, some of those models will pick it up and make it seem as an additional expense.
Oh, gotcha.
Experian Boost. Here's the thing: the bureaus they collect data. They're the OG gangsters. Facebook blows them away, right?
Right.
Because they collect so much data. So what are they doing now? They're having you link your utilities. They're having you link your bank accounts, so your checking accounts, and so they're tracking your deposits. They're doing all. That was the number one thing that the bureaus never had, is our income, and they found a way to get it out of us. And people think it's just a one stop, and I can put all these different things. So what are they doing? They're critiquing. You're giving them all this information willingly, and what are they doing? They're selling it.
Sure.
Now they're tracing all your transactions. They know where you're shopping. They know what you're buying. They know what you're eating. They know what you're driving. They know everything about you. It's just more data. It's more valuable than gold. So all my clients, I see 12 Experian booths on there, take them all off. But I just put them on, like, and the thing is that you're trying to make up, you're trying to put a Band-Aid on it. You got 6 credit cards from the past that you had bad delinquencies on and bad negative payment history. So you're trying to counter that with applying all this positive payment history. The problem is that you still got the negative. There lies the issue. You haven't resolved that. You haven't removed it. You're just slapping Band-Aids.
Right. And I guess that was always my biggest frustration with regards to this stuff, because you're trying to explain to someone, hey, this for you, it might be a bit of a marathon. It's not a sprint. But if you complete the marathon, you're in a much better position, right?
Absolutely.
Trying it this other way is not going to be a lasting situation. And it's not even something we can count on for whatever this immediate situation is that you want. So how are you? So you're able to then kind of talk a little patience into your clients. Not all of them have a situation that's going to cause them to take a long time to improve, but you do set a realistic expectation so that they understand, well, you didn't do all this overnight, right? And so it's going to take a little bit of unraveling and kind of better positioning to improve this. But if they buy in and they follow the program, they will be better off in the long term. And so
absolutely,
that conversation though, how do you convince someone of that? Because in most cases they're coming to you because I want something right now.
My number one thing is I'm not there to sell anybody on the services. My job is to find a solution. You don't like the solution, don't sign up. You want a house? Here's the solution I found. Most lenders have systems called the Credit Simulator or Credit Expert, Wayfinder, that produces a solution. But the problem is that it tells you what needs to be deleted and what needs to be improved and what needs to be paid off and all that, but it doesn't tell you how to improve it. It doesn't tell you how to delete it. So here we are. I'm Captain Obvious over here, and here, take care, get rid of all the bad stuff, but I won't tell you how to do it. There lies the problem. So either you follow the game plan, we get you a house, or we get you a new car, we start a new business, or you don't follow the game plan. If I want to have a 6-pack abs by summer, I'm going to have to get my trainer's going to put me on a very specific diet, right? Regimen, exercise routine, schedule, the whole 9. But if I continue to keep eating Whataburger after my workouts, probably not going to see that 6-pack, am I?
Probably not.
So the conversations about leading up to this, everything you've done didn't work. So it's now you're going to have to relinquish this responsibility. And that's probably the biggest thing that people have. It's the hardest thing that people have to realize and understand at the very beginning. I'm trusting this complete stranger with everything.
Right.
But that's why I encourage everybody to do the research on me. Like, I know you're going to Google me. I encourage it. I tell people straight up, in 17 years of doing business and literally placing over 10,000 people into position to qualify for their new home based on my programs and my services, there's 4 people that complain on the internet about me. I'll take those numbers all day. Without a doubt.
And just the sheer volume of what you've done, you're going to always have somebody. Somebody's always going to feel like, he didn't do this for me, blah, blah, blah. Like,
oh, yeah. They'll never tell you the truth. They'll never say, I don't like the way he did this. Or I think there was one like that, but like, but you didn't tell them about the new house and the 2 cars we got you. Okay.
Right.
Recently I just had a young couple just sign up with me, and the wife asked me about about this bad review.
This bad review.
I was like, which one? She's like, the one that you helped this lady, and I feel like it took 2 years. I said, you understand, I have a 6-month program. The level of confidence I bring to the table is if I go past 6 months, I work for free.
Okay.
There's no additional cost, no nothing. Did it take 2 years? Absolutely. Because that was my level of commitment to her, because she dragged it out. She didn't want to do the things but I continued entertaining the conversation for a year and a half, and having conversations at 8:00 at night with her in order to get to the finish line. Oh, but she says that, he did give me my credit cards. I did get my 700 plus credit score and everything like that. It just took longer than that I liked. Because you didn't want to do what you wanted to do.
Right. She didn't do her part, at least in a timely manner.
Right. So
Joe, here's the thing. What we want to do, because that was a quick, almost 60 minutes. So we're gonna kind of wrap here. But here's what I would like to have happen for anybody who needs to reach out. And the cool thing here is with Joe, it's a conversation. He wants to kind of figure out, okay, is there anything I can do for you? And let me investigate what it is I think I can do for you. We'll have this consult and we can decide whether we're going to work together or not. And he doesn't charge you anything for that part of it, right? And I think it is an important investment on your part to take the time to at least get a good handle on what your credit profile looks like, to get to know what that situation is. And then if there's ways to improve it, it's most certainly a good idea to improve it if you can, because it makes everything less expensive. You get better interest rates. There are even jobs now look at credit reports.
It's part of my top 10. Gas, water, electric, internet, cable, car insurance, renter's insurance, mortgage insurance, your cell phone carrier, and your employer. They're all looking at your credit. When you have to put deposits down, when people freak out, they're like, my car insurance? I'm like, oh, yeah. You're determining a level of risk. So usually when I help someone fix their credit, I help them refinance their car. Then I go and I get to have them talk to one of my insurance brokers.
Gotcha.
So now we're saving them like $400 or $500 a month.
Right. And then people will realize then, okay, well, I just pay to have good credit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so what we want you to do, Joe, make sure that everybody knows how to contact you. If somebody wants to reach out to Joe and the Phenix Group, how do they reach you?
Best way is just to send me an email. It's joe@thephenixgroup.com. And Phenix is spelled Phenix. So joe@thephenixgroup.com. That's the easiest way. So I don't have a cell phone. I work on a recorded landline. A lot of liability out there. So I want to make sure everything's recorded. But yeah, just call me. I'm in the office Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to about 8 p.m.
Okay. So you have a cell phone, obviously, but you're saying when you're doing business, it's all
but there's that. I mean, you want my personal cell phone? There's a white glove package that's gonna cost about $15,000.
So no, we're not asking for you to give that up. But I was just curious about how you make sure that you work on a recorded landline. So
No, we're with a lot of great companies, with the NFL, Major League Baseball. So kind of like Monument, working with the Cowboys and the Rangers and stuff like that. So I work with a lot of different folks and executives, Boeing. You have a lot of different military personnel, security clearances. So yeah, that's a lot of stuff we got to be real careful of.
Okay, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Joe, this has been a pleasure, man. You've been good. This was fun. It was educational. It was encouraging. I think there's a lot of people right now. This is the time we're moving into the selling season, and so those of you who are thinking about making the plunge and I want to see if there's a few things that you can do to kind of improve your standing. You might think you have great credit, and it's quite possible you do, but let's know before we go, right? And the more that you're knowledgeable about your situation, the better the ultimate outcome will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So very good, Joe. Very good, Bonita. Those of you who enjoyed our program today, hey, and if you're an O.J. Simpson fan,
oh man,
I'm sorry. I think it is what it is. The juice. I said what I said earlier. Nobody else. They all kind of played the fifth on that. So that was me. That was on me. So I'm the one who said I think O.J. did it, and so don't take that against them. But if you had a problem with that, I do apologize. But other than that, I hope that you've learned how to properly say credit and that you got some really good information from Joe and will take him up on his services. So with that is the end of our program today. Again, like, subscribe, share, do all those good things, and we'll see you next time.